You've seen the work we've put in, day in and day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and exposing poor breeding practices. Ugh. We spent years researching, studying, and applying real-world experiences to perfect the art of science of breeding. Why? Because you deserve the best, most accurate information out there. But to keep this mission alive and growing, we need your support. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection live show, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our content. It may seem small, but every like, every subscriber, and every share helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, maintain, and improve high-quality strains. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others discover the power of true breeding, help push this channel to the top. Like, subscribe, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife Nancy and my co-host Frank Bradley. What's going on?
Hey guys, how you been?
We're doing good, trying to stay cool.
That's a hard job these days.
Yeah, especially in August, September around here.
It's been terrible when Kenny was talking about backstage, and we had all this heat come through. High 90s, just terrible heat. It leaves out and it goes down into the low 80s, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be so great. And then it would rain just enough that day to get the humidity up, and then 81 felt like 105 again. We can't win.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty good overall. We've had a fairly good summer up until a couple of days ago, and then they said we're going to have heat for the next 2 weeks. So thank God for air conditioning. I hope you guys can't hear that, because I don't think I can do without it. I feel sorry for Nancy because she has no air conditioning. She's got to be pretty warm. Nancy, you want to tilt your camera down just a little bit?
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
I'm a little far away. There.
Okay.
I look like I'm sleeping.
Well, we've been pretty busy today, so.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. You want to say what do you want to tell people how we pranked Tawny?
Oh my gosh, we are evil parents.
So
I'm telling
funny.
you, we are so evil.
It may only be funny to us, tell you the truth, but it was funny.
Do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to?
You can go ahead and tell it, and then I'll fix it when you get it wrong.
Okay. Well, since it was my idea, I guess I'm the most evil parent out there. So there's a restaurant that Tawny loves to go to. It's a pizza joint, and out in our area. And Kenny and I left her home, and we went out and did some errands because she didn't want to go with us. And because she didn't want to go with us, we thought we would teach her a lesson. So I texted her and said, hey, we're stopping off to have some pizza at our favorite pizza place, but we'll bring you home some bread. And I showed her, can you show them the...
No, I don't have it on there, but we said, FYI, we went to Felipe's for dinner, but don't worry, we're bringing you home some bread.
Yeah. Oh, and then I sent her a picture of a loaf of bread, because they give you some bread, and the restaurant in the background. So you've got the loaf of bread and you got the restaurant in the background, and she's like, you're evil. Seriously? I want some pizza. Well, we did bring her home some pizza, but we had her
pretty convinced that we had dinner and didn't bring her anything.
You know why? Because a week prior, it was our anniversary, and Kenny and I went out to dinner. She didn't want to go with us. She wanted to stay home. So while we were out doing errands, we went and had some dinner at one of her other favorite restaurants.
Fish tacos.
And so she goes, are you coming home soon? I'm getting hungry. And we said, we showed her a picture of us in the restaurant and what we were eating. And she's like, damn it. So she missed out. So, yeah, there you go. But this time she did. She got her pizza. But anyway.
I don't know about the fish tacos, but those shrimp tacos were awesome at that one restaurant you guys took us to.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We took you to there.
And the proportions was huge. There's no way. Listen, I'm a big eater, but there's no way I could eat all that food.
Yeah, you ate bird.
Yeah, they do. They give you a lot of food. It's a good Mexican restaurant. It's like it's closer to true Mexican restaurant food. Yeah.
Well,
it was delicious.
You're talking Southern California Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
Every state Mexican food is different. But anyway, what else do we have to talk about? The round table?
Yeah, let everybody know that as far as the members are concerned, after we're done here, right at an hour, we're going to jump into the back end and meet us on the website, the Breeders' Academy website, for the round table. I want to welcome all the new members. We got a lot of great members recently, and just want you to know, get in there, just take your time, check it out, check out the Start Here pages. Don't try to rush through it. Get to know the website and some of the courses, and then maybe a month or so after you guys join, if you guys need me, we can get in there and do a members roundtable. So if you want to join us at the Breeders' Academy, just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Once you join, like we said, you'll have instant access to the website. That'll include the Founders Program, Masters Class videos, members roundtables, programs and courses. You'll get the complete collection of YouTube and podcast episodes, and then you'll have the daily articles. We have great contributors like Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, Dr. Gallardo, and like I said, we do coaching calls. So just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Awesome. So
Right. Sounds good.
this is going to be a good one. This, Frank, I was I'm kind of on a selection kick right now. So we've done a number of I think the last few episodes had something to do with selection, and I just kind of want to beat this topic up a little bit. And I was kind of thinking where I wanted to go with it. And I started to put an outline together, which we'll probably do next week, on how to select your brood fowl. What you need to do to go through your available birds, how you check them out, how you examine them, how do you determine which ones you're going to use inside your program. But I started looking around, and one of the ones that you and me did back in the early days when we first started. How many years ago was that? Maybe 5?
5 years. Yep.
Yeah. We did one called The Powers of Selection. So I was looking over the outline. I was like, wow, this would be fun. This kind of go with what we've been talking about the last couple of days. It's going to be a good medium from, I was going to use a different word. I can't think right now. One that's a good in between the one we did last time and the one we're going to do next week. So I thought we would tackle that. It's going to be called The Power of Selection. And Nancy, you wanted to set this up for us?
Yes, actually. So just a couple things that we're going to be discussing tonight in The Power of Selection is how do principles of genetics and conformation and performance, how they come together to shape your flock. Is there one that's more important than the other, or is it all of them that are equally important? What are the key principles you must know before creating your strain, your Adam and Eve? Kenny's going to share a little bit about how he found and learned all of this mentorship and where he found his mentors. Who are the great masters who, through science and experimentation, helped to shape what we know today? Nature versus artificial selection. Which way's the best? Did we learn how to select by studying nature? Genetics of selection. Why is knowing genetics so important? What parts of genetics are the most important to know? The order of selection. What is the order of selection? Any steps that you can bypass when developing your strain? Like, can we do any cut and go right straight to the top? So also the three-legged stool. We're going to talk a little bit about the three-legged stool. What are the parts of the three-legged stool, and can we get away with only doing one part of the three-legged stool, or do we need all three of them to make it all work?
You read it out like that. Hold on a second. This air conditioner is messing me up. I don't know if we're going to get through all that. The way you read that out, I was like, oh my God.
I was thinking the same thing.
So let me tell you something, guys. He's got like 8 pages of outlines, and I'm telling you about maybe the first 5 or 6 subject matters in the outline. So yeah, there's going to be a lot, but there's a couple things that I need to say before we move on and get started. Questions will be saved and answered in the last 10 minutes of the podcast. So please keep your questions to the subject matter that we will be discussing tonight. And members, don't worry. We're having a members roundtable, and all your answers will be answered in the roundtable.
Yeah. So
there you go.
That's funny, because when she told me she wanted to set it up, I was like, okay. And I saw her kind of going through the outline. But, Frank, I don't go word for word for the outline. I just skip around and I kind of skip over things as we go. Because sometimes we just cover some of it as we're talking. So, but listen to her go, wait a minute, we're never going to get through all of that, Hell, it's going to take the whole show just to talk about what we're thinking about covering. So
I was thinking, well, maybe we just need to do a 3-hour front-end show then.
No, we're gonna start keeping these things shorter. So, but I do want to say this, that I put a poll on YouTube to kind of give people an idea of what we're talking about and kind of get a feel for where they're at. And I was really proud, because I don't know who voted and who voted what, but the question was, what is the most important factor to consider when selecting potential brood fowl? and the answers were the complete bird or one trait at a time, 94% of the people voted for the complete bird. You know, Frank, that's something that we would have not seen years ago. They would have not gave that kind of answer. So I think we're making some kind of an influence here. So
yeah, that they would have one answer to that probably, and that would have been it. That would have been all she wrote. Yeah, they wouldn't have been close to that. There would have been a lot of answers like it doesn't matter, who cares, all that. You know, it's changed a lot.
If they can perform, they didn't care what they look like.
That's it. That's it. One trait.
There was one trait, performance ability, and that's all they cared about. You know, they could care about the rest of the bird. So,
yeah, but that's like as soon as we mention selection, conformation, and type is the first thing I think of when we start talking about selection. You know, and people's like, well, you know, you don't need conformation, you don't need type on these birds as long as they perform well. You know, that's the only thing that counts. Well, with me, I want to go out and look at my birds, and I want to admire the beauty of them, what I bred inside and out. I don't want to go out to have to lift the wings up to see if I need to trim their spurs. You know, I want them to be built right. I want the station to be right. I want the bird to look like it's supposed to look, but I want him to have the inner quality traits as well. And a lot of people says, oh, well, those pretty birds. You know, we've heard this before many
that's
times.
The complete package. It's the whole bird, the inside, outside, and everything in between. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, those pretty birds are just pretty birds. Well, all birds are intended to be beautiful. You know, that's the aspect of a good breeder, is making them look the functions and also have the inner qualities of what we desire as far as their traits.
If they're missing anything inside or out, then why would you settle for second best? Because that's what you're dealing with. You know, and it's got to nag your brain. Otherwise, they just don't know what they're supposed to look for, or what they should be, how they should be built. And that's a sad thing, because we see this in people that are supposed to be authorities, people that have been in this for a long time, and they really can't tell you what makes up the proper bird. They can't tell you they can't even a lot of times show you that there's a defect when it's standing right in front of them. But and I put people down, I guess you could say. I kind of criticized, but there was a time, and I'm sure Frank was the same way, that, you know, I was right where they were, and it wasn't for Tony. And ever since I met Tony, he really opened up my eye to the form and function and structure of the bird and the color of the bird, and to appreciate the whole package. And that changed my world. I mean, conformation of body, type, the whole structure of the bird, color, uniformity, recognizing defects. A lot of the defects I didn't even know until he started pointing them out and getting me all upset. How to judge them properly so that you're selecting the right brood fowl. And then what I learned after Tony from other people was, like Doug especially, and now Brian Reeder, was that the connection between genetics and selection. Because Frank, how are you able to select if you don't understand the genetics? Because the genetics understand the genetic factors of those traits helps you select the right traits to move forward with. So,
yeah, I said this last time. I do not know how that I was doing my selection when I know nothing about. Now, don't get me wrong. I knew the recessive dominant, but that's about as far as it went, you know, as far as genetics. I didn't know any of the other. But without knowing the genetics, made it so much easier and more enjoyable breeding your birds. And you was more confident about doing it. Before, I was just putting birds together and just doing a Hail Mary, hoping for the best. And that's all I was doing.
Yeah, because without genetics, you're just guessing. Because you could match up two birds thinking you get a blending or both or whatever. And the fact is that some traits cancel out others. Some, you know, the trait that you want gets canceled out by the other bird that you didn't care that much about, or vice versa, you know. And and then you're introducing outside blood that has all kinds of deleterious genes. But it was that connection between understanding how to select the bird, understanding the traits that they carry, understanding which ones were important, and then learning it from Tony the way I did, which sparked me to start writing for the magazine just for the heck of it. You know, actually, it was my daughter who was writing before me, just because she was reading the articles in the magazines and kept telling, and then listening to me talking to people on the phone. And she'd go, "Dad, why don't you start writing for this magazine? These guys don't seem to know what they're talking about," because they were reading the magazines. And I told my daughter, I go, "Sam, if you think it's that easy, you do it." And to my surprise, she started doing it. She did it for over 2 years.
I remember it.
Yeah. She was Sammy, the little girl cocker,
Yeah.
And so she would write her little articles and I would send them in and I'd just look them over and make sure that the spelling was right, basically. And she would do that. She did that every month for about 2 years. And it wasn't until she was done that I started writing. And I was just going to write a few articles just to give her a break. So I really thought she'd go back because she seemed to be enjoying it at the time. So I wrote a 4-part series on selection. It was selection of a strain, selection of brood fowl, confirmation of body, and the powers of selection. And I got such a response from that I was like, well, shoot, just keep going. And then I've been writing. Well, I haven't wrote recently for the magazine, but I wrote for the magazine for 18 years? I don't know, something like that.
2018, I think, was your last article.
Yeah,
I believe.
So I didn't miss a month. So every month I had an article in the magazine, and I enjoyed it until I built the Breeders' Academy. Just didn't have time to do that anymore.
Well, that's a funny thing. Real fast, I was telling Kenny when we first started doing this. Kenny called me up and asked me about doing a podcast, and we was talking it out. And I kept telling my wife, I said, God, that name seems so familiar. Where have I heard that name before? She's like, it's probably just social media. He was in Gamefowl, you was in Gamefowl. You probably just remember him, maybe in a chat or something like that. I said, no, I know that name. And then all of a sudden I picked up a game cop one day and was going through it, looking at it. And there was Kenny in his article. I was like, duh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still get that today. A lot of people who become members will say that to me, that I just found out recently that you were the one in the magazine. You were the one I was reading all those years. And now you got this podcast and live show and website. And I didn't put the connection together that was the same person.
That was me.
Probably because I don't talk about it that much, just because I don't think about it that much. It was a big part of my life for a long time. I wrote from those articles. I wrote 2 books,
That
and
was
I wrote
a long time ago.
Never made it in a book.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because you started what? Early 2000s?
Yeah. 2000. Well, Sam wrote. She started writing in 1999, and I think I started January of 2001, if I remember right.
That's what I was guessing. Early 2000. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while back.
And he published everything that we did, But the journey of learning the art of selection, I was lucky. I just had the right people that helped me out and made sense. And I just gravitated to it. And then from there, I was hungry for information. I just kept pushing it a little further, started getting all the science books, started getting, seeing the connection between selection and evolution and artificial selection and selective breeding. I started just tying it all together. And that's kind of how the website came about, or the founders program, was because it was the foundation of that particular program was evolution. Without evolution, I wouldn't have been able to put a lot of together and understand how it all went together in what went, the methods that we use and the order that they're used. I wouldn't have never understood that without it. And then all the little things you have to understand too, to make it all work. And everything we do here, Frank, as far as this show and the programs we put together, the foundation's always evolutionary biology.
Yeah. At the end, that's what it all comes down to. It's just with selective breeding, we're doing the same thing. We're just speeding the process up by hundreds of years, thousands of years, really. But Mother Nature, I'll say this, though. If we culled and selected like Mother Nature did, we wouldn't have a problem building a strain whatsoever.
If most people understood gene flow, they wouldn't be crossing and adding new blood all the time.
Yeah, that's true too.
If they understood genetic drift and its derivatives of bottlenecking and the founder's effect, they would understand how to make their own strains and not be adding new blood all the time. Those kind of things, just natural selection alone, it mirrors a lot of what we do in selective breeding. But a lot of people know about Gregor Mendel, but how do you understand Gregor Mendel if you don't understand first what Charles Darwin figured out? Okay. And then you look at Gregor Mendel, and a lot of what he did was very basic from from what we know now, like polygenics. Everybody wants to talk about dominant recessive, monogenic traits, but they're small, they're little, they're really not as big a deal as polygenic traits. And nobody was talking about polygenic traits till we got into this. So I started opening people's minds and getting them to understand the importance of it, which brought me to Thomas Hunt Morgan, sex-linked traits, a little bit about mutation theory, understanding the significance about that with Hugo de Vries. And then Robert Bakewell was probably one of the bigger
influences.
Really made a big difference to me because of what he learned about selective breeding, inbreeding, those kind of things. Because it wasn't until I read him and started studying him that I really gravitated to inbreeding like no other, which made the biggest difference, So I would suggest anybody, if you really want to understand breeding, study Robert Bakewell. He's the father of selective breeding.
Well, I have to say that studying these master scientists one by one, I think really helped you put it all together and make it more understandable for everybody else to understand where we're going with evolution and, natural selection versus, artificial selection, all those things. It was just like a chain reaction as you were studying all these men in the day. I mean, we're talking over 100 years ago, these people were out testing and experimenting and figuring things out. And because of them, we are so much farther today with our breeding practices than we ever would have been if they had never been born.
Well, look at it this way. We talk about science of breeding, selective breeding, evolution, evolutionary biology, but genetics is a part of evolutionary biology. It's a major part. There's a lot more to evolutionary biology, but genetics was one of them. And that's where I learned genetics was starting as far as evolutionary biology. From there, I understood monogenic traits like dominant recessive, polygenics. That made a big difference on me. Incomplete dominance and co-dominance, sex-linked traits, mutations. And then the biggest one that really changed the way I think of things, such as whether you should add, infuse, or do outcrossing, crossbreeding, and the maybe the benefits of it, but mostly the detriments of it was meiosis and the crossover event, and the distribution and recombination of genes, which was that's where all their variation was coming from, Frank, right there.
Yeah. Well, us talking about this, a lot of people going back to conformation of body and type, they say it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, why is it all the wildlife share the same attributes as far as conformation of body and type? You look at the squirrels, the different breeds, the different strains that's out there, the different birds like turkeys, pheasant, grouse, things like that. They all have the same conformation. If you lined them all up, the majority of them is going to look the same. It's going to be hard to pick them from one another, So once again, Mother Nature doing her task of what she's supposed to do, and that's what we're supposed to do as breeders.
Well, most people don't want to hear this, but we're more related to those animals than you ever want to believe.
Yeah, we are. Well, hey,
we are.
Our DNA, we share DNA with everything, even vegetation. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Our DNA is embedded in everything on this earth, or if their DNA is embedded in us, who knows? So, but it's weird when it comes out to that. Some share more, some share less. But if you go looking for it, there's going to be DNA in there that can match to us.
I know it's uncomfortable for some people, and I believe in God more than most people. I'm a firm believer of God, Jesus Christ, and He's my Savior and all that. I pray every day, all day long sometimes, okay? But I do believe in evolution, and I think that was part of God's plan too. And no, I think we're more related to animals, including fish, than people think, and I know it's difficult for some people, but the connection is there. And here's the funny thing too, is there's some people that are even, like I say this all the time, that they are high authorities. They've got a lot of experience. They've been breeding and raising gamefowl for longer than most people. And they can't tell the difference between American game, asil, Spanish, Irish, Old English, they can't tell you the difference. They just see Gamefowl. They don't see the difference between them, you know? And they don't understand the true structure of the birds. What's the proper type? We say the silhouette, the overall shape of the bird dictates the breed. Okay. And then the conformation, if you understand all the parts that make up the bird, and then they're in proper places and proportions, that's what makes up the conformation. And if you look at the type and conformation, let's say American game to other birds that are also gamefowl, if you really understand all that, you'll see a huge, not just a little difference, but a huge difference. What you can see, that connection, then the road to selection is so much easier. Okay. Because now you're not guessing. Now you understand. And you understand when you match two birds, whether they're a true match and whether they're going to actually benefit each other and take each other to the next level, or is one of them going to hold them back, you know? So,
yeah, a lot of people, there's more people raises chickens than there are breeders. And you have to think about that. A lot of people, other than putting a hen and a rooster, you know, in a pen, getting the eggs and hatching them, I used to be that way, you know.
yeah.
For many years of my young life, I was that way. I just put chickens together. I wasn't a breeder. I was a replicator, I guess you could say. Even if I was replicating them, I don't even know if I was doing that. You know, I think I was just making numbers pretty much. Breed everything that was hatched out. Didn't cull a bird. You know, every bird had a use. You know, so yeah, I've been there, done that, and that's the reason I understand it better than most, because now that my eyes is open, and don't get me wrong, if I could go back, I still want that experience, because that experience of me coming up, learning in the wrong way, helped me later on, helped me to open my eyes to see the bigger picture of breeding.
And what I see a lot is they don't realize that there's only a few or a handful of the birds that you've produced on your farm that have the power to actually take that strain to the next level. Okay. They don't think like that. They don't look for those standouts. They just know whatever survived, whatever is healthy, whatever they're able to carry into maturity, those are breeders. And if they got an empty brood pen, they're going to stick a bird in there and they're going to breed it. You know, that's the road that's the road to mediocrity. They're just not actually they're not actually improving anything. What are you going to say, Nance?
That's because each bird has a dollar sign attached to it.
Okay, that's for
Sometimes.
selling. That's for selling.
Not
but I'm
always.
talking about for actually breeding. You know, they're not understanding the value of the few exceptionals. Those are the ones that have the power to actually create, improve, and maintain a strain. Not all the birds you produce have that power. Matter of fact, most of them you should actually be getting rid of. You know,
a lot of yards that I've seen, they'll always have a one rooster they'll call Pretty Boy, and he's what he's supposed to be. But that's the only one they've got on their yard they call Pretty Boy. The rest of them's not so pretty.
They should have a ton of pretty boys on that yard.
The way I see it, every one of them should be pretty boys. Okay, that's the key to being a good breeder. All of them should be pretty boys. All of them should share the same strengths, same weaknesses to be a family. But usually 9 times out of 10, they've got that one rooster that they name Pretty Boy, and they don't call that to anything else on the yard.
They just need to realize that, yes, in the beginning, it seems like you're only selecting and breeding to a handful. But as the family improves, like we talk about the population distribution graph, where you have a number of birds, you're judging them or determining their value by their quality. Okay. And so sometimes the peak of that graph, which is the bell-shaped curve, is usually far to the wrong side. Okay. And as the family improves, it goes further and further to the good side, where you have more. So you go from having a lot of bad birds to having a lot of good birds. That doesn't happen in the beginning, but through proper selection and breeding the best birds and moving the family forward each generation, that bell-shaped curve leans farther to the good side rather than the bad side, as long as you're not bringing in new birds and disrupting the gene pool all the time, and understanding no matter how good the birds are, no matter how good your breeding program is, it's your knowledge and skill as a breeder and knowing which birds to select, which makes all the difference. And that's where they fail. They could have the best breeding program in the world, but if they don't understand the bird and don't know what to select, they're just not going to get there.
I said that just the other day, Kenny. You could have the healthiest strain on the face of the earth and the best breeding program, and without selection, you're never going to get where you need to go ever.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the order of selection? Okay. So the ones we like to say is health and vigor, because if they're not healthy and vigorous, you can't move them forward. So, and I'm not talking about birds that are relying on medications or vaccinations. I'm talking about birds that are resistant to the diseases in their area, that they're almost bulletproof, that you're going to, they never get sick, never have been sick. They produce really good offspring. Again, we're back to the few rather than the many in the beginning, but that's how you get there. And then, Frank, what's the next one?
Well, I want to just touch on what you just said there, Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but I had a guy send me a message and ask me. He said, I hear you and Kenny in some articles that you write that for disease resistance, and he was like, "How do you was asking me different things about disease resistance. It's not being resistant to the point to where you can bring any disease you want to in on your chickens, and they're going to be resistant to that disease. It's not like that. We're talking about disease resistance is having a biosecurity, and on that farm is the diseases that you have on your farm. Every farm has diseases. If you've got chickens, you've got diseases there. They will become resistant to that with good care, good feed, and breeding the right birds. But if you bring something in that they've never been associated with or infected with, you're going to have problems. And that's the reason we always say biosecurity, number one, and breed for the resistance within your yard. I think a lot of them was thinking that, you could bring any old disease that you wanted in there and the birds was going to be resistant to it. That's not how it goes.
No, I agree with you. And this is something that where me and Brian, I understand what Brian's saying, Brian Reeder. And I think he understands where I'm coming from too, in that I think it's really hard and very dangerous to bring just any birds on your yard or take your birds on and off your yard, expose them. They can't become resistant to disease until they're exposed to it first. Okay, I get it. But there's a school of thought where you open the barn, open the cages, let them all out, let the weather do its thing, take them to the fairs and the shows and bring them back and expose them to everything you can expose. Let Mother Nature weed out the weak, and the few that survive, you move forward with it. So they are resistant to everything. That's his school of thought, and that's what he was taught. And I understand where he's coming from, and I'm not going to say he's wrong, but that's really tough for most people to do because it's hard to expose them to everything and have birds on your farm that can actually resist everything. So you're going to lose a lot of birds. You take a risk of maybe even losing all of them. And his thought is, and I totally understand Brian. I'm not saying he's wrong at all.
It's a good thing.
I'm just saying it's really tough. He's saying if you can find that one bird that is resistant to everything, that's your foundation bird that's going to create the family that is resistant to everything, So although that's the school of thought, that's the idea, that's where you want to get to, that's really tough. I'm not asking anybody to do that. I'm telling everyone, just like Frank said, just get them at least resistant to the diseases on your farm and at least in your area. So you're not having to deal with diseases. You're not having to deal with birds that are symptomatic for illnesses. You're not having to medicate them, vaccinate them. Yes, you get them to a point, like I haven't seen a sick bird on my farm forever. Does that mean they're resistant to all the diseases? No, they're resistant to the diseases that are on my yard or the birds that are in my area. If I take them to the fair, is there a chance they could get some? Yeah, I could bring something on my farm that actually could hurt me pretty good. And there's some people like Danny Feathers that would do that. He would take all his birds to the fair, wouldn't quarantine them, bring them back, and he would have issues from time to time. But he said he had no problem with it. It worked for him, For me, that's like, that's dangerous. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So
I've done it for years. I've done it for years. Didn't have a problem, but it caught up with me. And when it did, I paid dearly for it. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nancy?
No, explain your story, Frank. What happened?
Well, I was doing the same thing Danny was doing, taking birds all over the place, different places around different chickens, different areas, different environments. Never had a problem. Didn't have no, just basic issues with my birds. And then it finally caught up with me. I got coryza in my birds, and I got rid of it. But my God, it was like years, getting it all out of there and getting rid of it. I just about had to just get down populated enough to where I got rid of all the birds that had it and kept the offspring away from them, moved them on new ground to keep them away from it, and then sterilized the place good, and then got away from it. And, and I got thinking, what if it has mycoplasma or something even worse that I brought in on my birds? So that taught me a good lesson right there. It was a harsh lesson, but sometimes that's what it takes to open your eyes.
And you can get around those diseases, and you can actually breed them to resistance after a while if you know how to do it. I mean, they're mycoplasma and coryza are two different diseases, and you handle them differently. One, you have to make sure that they're not stressed. You breed to the healthy ones, and eventually, and it's tough, but eventually you can get to the point when they're not expressing the disease through stress, that you're actually having some that are not sick of it. It's a hard road to go. You can actually get there. Not too many people know how to do that. Peter Brown's a good one to walk you through it if you need to know. Coryza, it's easier to get rid of, but it's hard for people to do it only because they don't want to do what they have to do. And that means you hatch baby chicks, you keep them away from the parent stock, you depopulate the parent stock, clean up the area, you bring in the young birds into the area, because you got to get rid of those carriers. You know what I mean? It's not passed to the egg. It's not vertical. It's horizontal, where mycoplasma is vertical, and it can be tough because it can be passed to the egg. So,
and both are lifetime too.
Yeah.
For carriers.
Yeah. Well, Peter Brown seems to think you can get around it. I've never seen.
It's the same way. They've got medications that can keep it at bay from being so contagious. And he's even got actual tests that you can test a bird in just a matter of minutes and know if it's been infected or not. So you weed the ones out that's been infected, and you keep the non-infected ones. Yeah. But like you said, Kenny, a lot of people's not willing to do that.
Yeah, especially for coryza, getting rid of the parent stock, because you have to get rid of everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the best thing is just not expose them in the first place,
Well, I don't have a real big problem with that, because the way we breed, once they get to a certain age, or I get a better offspring bird anyway, I'm moving forward. I'm not staying in that same area. If I get a better producer bird, the one before him is gone.
Yeah.
Originally, what I was going to say is it's different for different scenarios. And that is, if you've got a large farm where you have thousands of birds, and you can take that chance because some of them are going to survive, there you go. But if you have a small farm where you only have 50 birds per se in your family, the chance of losing all 50 is much greater. I mean, obviously.
Well, it depends on the bloodline and how close they are too. So, because they all share the same gene pool,
If one's successful, usually the others are too.
Yeah, right.
That's the bad part about it.
So there's good and bad in both. There's good and bad in having a large number of birds, and there's good and bad in having just a few birds. Because if there's just a few birds and they look healthy, you're probably in pretty good shape. You know what I mean?
Charlie Carr always said, I remember him saying this, and I've tried to stay this route, is keep your numbers low, keep a clean yard, keep good husbandry. Okay, keep everything clean, low numbers, and cull the sick and weak, and you'll see brighter days. But if you're just letting everything go, not cleaning up, and just breeding sick birds, it's never going to end for you.
That's very close to a program we're going to be teaching here pretty soon called Improvement Through Reduction. It's an amazing program. On a strain that's not actually improving and having some problems moving forward, it's a great program to make that happen. It's a great program for restoring a family that's suffering or went through a huge loss. you know. So we'll be teaching that pretty soon. I just want to get some other projects out of the way, and I'm finishing up Brian's. I'm trying to get that gene shopping done, and then we're going to move into the improvement through reduction. We're going to teach that in the back end. But so health and vigor is number one. Go ahead, Nancy.
Got a question for you guys. Like this is off the charts here. What if you want to have your birds resistant to everything? So you allow one bird off of your property, and you know he comes back with something, and you stick him in the far end, the back 40 of your property with a sacrificial bird. And if that sacrificial bird lives to tell the tale, you know that your strain may be resistant to whatever junk that bird brought home with him. And you can test your bird strain, your family, like, okay, I think they're resistant for this and this and this disease.
No,
if you really want to do the work and get technical with it.
No, that's like these big pack of 1,000 firecrackers you get, light one fuse and they go off one by one. That's what that is. That's lighting the fuse to those 1,000 firecrackers is what it is. That's how I see it. I don't know
because
about
there's a lot of diseases. I've talked to Dr. Gallardo where it starts in this part of the yard, and you see it migrating around the yard till it finally makes its way. Full circle. By the time it gets through the whole yard, you got new birds coming up, and now they're getting the sickness too.
Yep.
So the idea as far as breeding to resistance, I mean, there's more to it than this, but the simple version of it is you cull the sick and you breed to the healthy. That's the biggest thing. And we can get more technical, and we can go deeper because there's more to it than that. Mitochondrial DNA, prepotency, selection, all that. But that's the biggest thing you have to understand is that if you're going to breed the sick birds, you're going to get more sick birds. Yes, if you cull the sick birds, you're going to lose a lot of birds, but it's the healthy birds that are going to move you forward. And then don't take the chance of bringing outside birds in that are going to have a chance of getting them sick without at least quarantine them and making sure, And if you bring any birds off your yard, bring them back, quarantine those too. So a little biosecurity, a little isolation, selection and culling are big, but creating a family that's resistant to disease, at least in your area, takes time, can be scary for some people, can be expensive in the beginning. But hell, medications are expensive, so give me a break,
Right. Yeah, well, it's like this. If one of mine gets sick, and I'm telling you the gospel truth about this, if one of mine gets sick, he's dog food. That's all I can say. He's dog food. I don't put up with it. If they're sick, I want them gone.
I can already see this is an outline we're going to have to finish later because we didn't even get what 2 of them? There's a lot of good stuff here, so I think we're going to finish up the next one next week. But
we could finish the month out with this one.
Yeah, we'll finish up this one next week. So we'll spread this out a little bit, which is good. I don't have to create an outline, But okay, so health and vigor is number one, really important. Type and confirmation too.
Very important.
Type and confirmation is just as important, or maybe or bigger. If you look at all the standards, that's the first thing they talk about is type and confirmation. Without the proper type and confirmation, they don't represent their bird, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So if you're going to bring in new birds all the time, you're going to mix up the gene pool. You're going to bring in different breeds to actually try to improve them. Gene shopping, that's a whole program in itself. You don't want to do without knowing the consequences of that. But they got to have the right type and confirmation to move them forward, or they're not a family and they're not the breed that they're representing. So
that's a big part of it. I mean, health and vigor and type and confirmation really are number one.
Yeah, they are.
Infused. That they really are. And what about 3, Kenny? What about the third one?
I have it as 3, and I do think it's 3. It's performance and production, because if they're not able to do the purpose for which they were bred, then what the hell?
Useless.
You know what I mean? Yeah, they're useless. So
they're useless.
That's part of the complete package. I mean, they have to look like the breed, act like the breed, and they have to be able to perform for what they were bred for. So that's all of it. So everybody can say, "Oh, you're just breeding for pretty birds," but I never say that I want a pretty bird. I want a bird that has everything. I want it to look like a American game. You know what I mean? I want it to have everything an American game should, and I will select that way. So, no, if you're not breeding for and that's part of what that poll was. It was about, is it the complete package or is it one trait at a time? And if you're breeding for the complete package, yeah, you're usually dealing with a lot less birds. You're dealing with maybe a few birds because those are the only ones that really represent their breed in the beginning. But those are the birds, like we said, have the power and influence to actually take them to the next level. When you're breeding for one trait at a time, you're neglecting other traits. You're destroying other traits. Tandem mating, which is one trait at a time, doesn't work.
Dangerous.
In the long run, it does not work. And I hear so many people teaching that one. Work on one trait at a time. It's hard to work on everything all at one time. No,
it can't be done, Kenny. I've tried it, and it just messes things up.
One trait at a time?
Yeah, one trait at a time confuses you. You're focused on this trait while everything else is going out the door. That's what happened to me. So because I just don't see it that way.
When you're working on that one and you're perfecting it, and it takes a while, you're neglecting everything else. Okay. And if it's performance ability, you're losing confirmation because you're not selecting for confirmation. And it's all because of the amount of birds they end up at the end. So if they're breeding, they only have a few that actually are close to having the complete package. And sometimes they don't have it completely. Sometimes they're just the best ones on your yard. And those are the ones you got to breed to. And over time, because most of them are polygenic, multi-gene traits, and you only know that because of all the variation. But by selecting the highest intensity over time, they little by little get there. Okay. And then the number of birds that have the complete package is a lot more than there were in the beginning. And then you have a better selection. So the more birds you hatch, the better selection you're going to have, the better they get, the bigger the number of birds you're able to deal with, and the selection becomes easier in time. So yeah, that's a big one. I see so many people just doing that. They select one trait at a time. They go to work on another trait. And in the meantime, they lost not only that trait, but they lost other traits too. And they just never seem to catch up. They just never get there.
And a lot of times they don't even get the trait that they was actually going for. 9 times out of 10.
Because they don't know the genetic factors of that trait.
That's it. Just because a bird is showing a characteristic or a trait that you like, and you're like, oh, I'm going to breed it to this or that, and I want that trait. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get that trait. Now, can you get lucky? Yeah, you can get lucky. Even a blind hog finds an acorn every once in a while, but more times than not, you're not going to get that trait.
Well, they do it because they fail because they don't understand the genetic factors of that trait, and because they don't see that it's coming through. They add new blood, which destroys everything right there, and they're starting over. So those are the two things that really screw them up: is they don't understand genetics, they don't understand the genetic factors of those traits, and they're not patient enough to interbreed the family and look for the variations that work in their favor and just slowly get them there. They want instant success, so they add new blood. They never get there. Everything that they think they achieved is all temporary.
And they don't breed close enough to start a true family. That's the others. They're terrified of it.
Yep.
That's the other big one.
All right, we've got 7 minutes left.
Okay, let me highlight the rest of this right here, and then we'll do the rest next week. Okay, so order of what is it? The order of selection. I want to say the order of dominance. Health and vigor, type and conformation, performance and production ability, color and condition, temperament and behavior, breed characteristics, very important. Got to understand your breed. And then you look for all the traits. The air conditioner, just lost my train of thought. Actually, that's part of breed characteristics. So anyways, and then understand breed history and family history. Because if you can track their lineage and understand the breed, then you have a better chance of getting there because you know what not only to look for, but you know what to select. And again, that comes with patience and understanding the breed, and then you'll finally get there. So that's kind of the order of selection that I look at. And so we'll talk about the rest of it next week.
But now that temperament and behavior, that's high on my list. That's a make or break right there, because if they're even not a man fighter, but just say they like to take a chunk out of you every once in a while, that's a deal breaker for me. No, no, no.
So you deal with that when you see it, and
Yeah.
that's usually a bigger deal when you're beginning because you have a lot of variation, a lot of variables hiding in there, and a lot of people weren't selectively breeding in the first place, so they have a lot of bad tempers and high-strung hens. Okay, so once you get them there, then it's not the issue it used to be. It's just if you get one once in a while, you just deal with it. But for the most part, once you get the family situated and you've selectively bred them and you got them coming uniform, consistent, predictable, repeatable, those kind of things usually aren't an issue because you took care of it early.
And testing,
always test. Everything's
always
about testing.
test.
Yeah.
Yep. At a mature age, of course.
Yeah. So you got questions, Nancy? We can answer real quick.
First question we have here, and I'm going to answer it before you two do. If you wanted to create a new type of chicken, which breeds would you go with? Now, myself, I wouldn't. I would go with a breed that is in the endangered list and try to bring that breed back, like the Java. Something that has been around for hundreds of years that is now on the endangered list, and we need to bring it back. So what about you guys?
Okay.
Like silver grays.
You would, Brian Reeder would love this guy because Brian Reeder loved that idea of creating a new breed and strain because the genetics. There's so much to work with. There's so much material to work from that there's so many breeds that still can be created. He believes in that wholly, and
that's ever breeder, Kenny. That's
no, he's really into that. He doesn't
Yeah.
care what's out there right now. Yeah, you can preserve the breeds are out there. That's great. He understands that, but he wants to see people creating new stuff because the genetic material out there is so great. There's so many things we can do with it. Okay. So what I would tell Joshua is, what do you want? What do you want? What kind of bird do you want? What do you want them to look like? And then you do like our gene chopping program on the website, which I actually, sorry about that. I took it off. I'm going to put it back on. I just got to fix it. Using that program and understanding or have an idea what you want to create, and understanding which breeds have the traits you want, and understanding the genetics of those traits will help you not only pick the right birds to get where you want, but to breed them in the right order. Okay. I don't want to say much more than that, but yes, it's possible, but you got to know what you want, and you got to know which breeds have what you want, and you got to understand the genetic factors, and so that you can, we call it what, Frank, the Frankenstein effect.
Mm-hmm. and two, word of advice for you, Joshua, make sure it's something that you like, that you find fascinating and beautiful, because if you get something and then 3 months later, them's the ugliest chickens I ever seen in my life, you're not going to do what you need to do with them. You want to be attracted to those birds. You want to be attracted to that strain. So make sure it's something that you like, rather than just get it because it's different, so to speak.
Yeah, because you're not going to keep going very long with them if they just don't appeal to you, right?
Like me breeding silkies, I wouldn't last very long with them. I just tell you.
Oh, but they're so cute and fluffy.
They are. They're just not my game.
No.
On confirmation, what is the axle feather in the wing I see mentioned in the video, and what does it mean when you say legs are behind the carriage?
Okay. If you spread out the wing, you got your primaries, and then you got your secondaries, and then in between those is the axial feather that comes up in between them. If it's not there, then you got basically split wing, but you want a good axial feather that separates the primaries from the secondaries. Okay, so that's what that is. What do you say? Legs
behind the carriage.
Okay, you want a good carriage. You want a good. Okay, let me settle down here. Type is the silhouette and outline of the bird. It's the shape of the bird. The conformation is all its parts in its proper places and proportions. Okay, those are the two things that basically represent the bird. And then you got carriage, which is how that bird holds itself. Okay, and what you want to look for is not only does it have the right type and conformation, but you want those legs under the bird properly so it holds the bird up. Now it's so it holds the bird. If they're out of balance, okay, let's put it this way: if the carriage is wrong, they're out of balance.
Can
Here's
I
a good
bring up
one.
a banner?
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and take that off of there.
All
Okay,
right.
this is a banner somebody else created that describes station, which is completely wrong. But you know what? Let me do this. I don't want to do that one.
I was
This is
going to say you had the proper one. You
yeah, I
should have,
do.
Kenny.
Let me see if this is it. Okay, okay. This is for American game. This is the proper type and conformation of the bird. Now, forget the color. All the colors are different. Some are right, some are wrong. Some are what we call off colors. But what you can see here is that the legs are centered under the body properly. You got the right angulations in the leg. You got the right angulations in the back and the tail. Good length of the neck. Good, nice breasts on the birds. They hold their wings in the proper place, right over the thighs. But the legs are all nicely centered under the leg. Now, just imagine where the leg. Let's see if these have it. I'm trying to find one. Okay, this is not. This is not where.
Right bottom.
Yeah, they're not giving me I may have to go back to the other one. Now the types and conformation of these birds are completely off, but it's not showing me the carriage that I want. Let me see. Is this one here? Again, they're not showing me the carriage. They're just showing me the type and conformation. So I'm gonna have to go back to this one. Okay, so if you look at the three examples here, the medium one, the middle one is the closest to being proper because they have the right angles and the legs are properly centered under the body. Now, if a bird, like on the far right, you have, they say it's low station, it has nothing to do with the station. Okay. But when the carriage, the legs are behind the body, it's an improper carriage. Now, what you would see in this is for that bird to be able to balance itself properly and have the legs that far back, you'd have a flatter back. There's no way he could have the angles he has and have the carriage that he has. So that drawing isn't proportionate. But the legs are too far back there. And then you got the one in the front where the legs are way forward. And then for him to balance himself out, he'd probably have to flatten his back again for him to be able to balance himself. Because a bird with those kind of angles, having legs in so far forward, just fall back. Here's a good example. Let me pull this up. This might help. I forgot that I had this.
Yeah. The station being high, low, medium, whatever it is, doesn't depict where the legs are on the body of the bird.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with that. Okay, now look at the hen on the left-hand side here. This is my original Adam and Eve when I started my Maximus line. These are birds I got from Colonel Gibbons.
Hers is back there.
Now, yeah, they are. But see how flat her back is?
Yeah.
She would not be able to balance herself with an upright body if her legs were that far back. So she had to flatten her back to make it work. Whereas you see the cock, which was my Adam, where he's not exactly a great representative of American game. He has a lot of faults, but he's got he still has balance. Okay. I would say his type and conformation's off, but he still has balance. So his legs are centered properly.
He's got a round look to him.
A what?
Like a basketball round to him.
Yeah. He had a lot of issues. But thank God his conformation his conformation and carriage were close. Because if he didn't have it and I bred him to that hen like I did, I would have never got where I needed to go. And now this is after about 12, 15 years. Well-balanced birds. I never added outside blood. This is all through working through the Founders Program, selective breeding, doing the things the way you're supposed to. And I created this family. Never added outside blood. And then where's the other one? And then here's how they are today, where I just fine-tuned them. No major changes from what they were 10 years prior. Just fine-tuned them through selection. Okay. So I hope that kind of gives them an idea what carriage is about, and then you got station. The four areas of structure is type, conformation, carriage, and station. And station is basically the length of leg, but it's how the thigh measures to the shank. So a lot of times you see birds are really tall. Well, a lot of times that shank and that thigh are both long and elongated. Very weak, by the way, too. Okay. Then you have something that's somewhere near medium where you have the thigh that's slightly longer than the shank, and it's more proportionate. You got a lot more strength in the leg overall, and then you've got low station where they tend to have either the same length thigh as the shank, but they're both really short, or I've seen it where the thigh was actually shorter than the shank. Okay, so you can see the different proportions of thigh to shank ratio, and how they correlate with the actual length of the leg. So that's the station, and this is the one this is the one going around right now, determining the station of the bird, which is completely wrong. There's no truth to this whatsoever. I don't know who made that, or why they thought that, but there's people thinking this is the way to judge them.
Nowhere close to being right.
No, it's so far off. It's
okay. Two
useless.
slides back when you had the multiple roosters up there, Christopher was asking what was wrong with the center right bird.
Okay, which one?
The bad ones that you had. The center right bird.
The one. Okay. Oh shoot. Well, shit. He has. Sorry. He's got the wrong. Okay, his legs aren't forward or back, but he still has the wrong carriage. He has the wrong type. He has the wrong conformation. He's got the wrong carriage. His legs are too long. His body's too flat. His neck's too short. He's got, I think he's verging on rye tail. There's everything wrong with that bird, if that's what he's talking about.
Oh, I thought he's talking about the far right one.
The far right one? Well, that's
what I thought it was.
Yeah, he's just either he's not holding himself very well, or he's sick, but he doesn't look like he should. He's not showing himself.
Yeah, it looks like he's drawn up.
He does, and he looks a little humpback to me too.
Now, I wonder what's the wrong with the second one on the left middle, Kenny. Wind blowing, maybe.
Oh my God. Oh, I've had enough of that. I can't look at that all day.
Okay, we got one more question. We got to get into the back end for our guys and gals. Let's talk about what's really important here. How can we order one of these?
You can email me. Go to breedersacademy@gmail.com, and I can send you the links. I don't know how to explain it to people how to get there. What's that banner say, Nancy? Does that say, do we have that on there?
Oh, I thought you all went through the company where you could just order them through them.
Okay, go ahead and get that off of there.
Okay.
What's it say on there? Oh, it doesn't. Okay, well, you go to Cafe Press, and then you punch in either Breeders Academy or Bred to Perfection, and then you can search products under those names. Yeah. I can get you started by sending you a link. That's the one thing I like about this website. It's hard to explain to people how to exactly get there and find our products.
Can't you click that UR code right up there? Can't you scan it and then you can get you there?
Put my phone on there and see if it shows Cafe Press.
I want that rooster.
I can't do. I don't have my phone. I can't check it.
Do I go to
camera
and
then click on it? What do you get?
It wants Frank. Okay.
There we go. Get much.
What do you get? Do you get our products?
Cafe Press.
Okay.
Is it our
products? Okay, so it goes to Cafe Press, and there you go.
Is that our products? Okay, do that.
I
forgot I did that. Yeah.
Yeah. Click the QR code.
I was thinking that was for the Academy.
No, it's no, I don't.
Well, that's a different slide. Then you can
every
to the Breeders Academy.
Every QR code's different. But yeah, click on that. That'll get you to Cafe Press, and you can order them. They're cool. I like them. So anything else?
Yeah. And this is my Bred to Perfection cup, and you can get different colors here, guys. You can get blue, dark blue, black, this teal color that I have here, pink. I think those are the colors. Red's another color.
Yeah,
all right.
All kinds of stuff.
We need to get into the back end, guys. So
is that it?
Okay. Yes. Anybody else have anything to say?
Nope.
You can add another 15 minutes to it.
We are good.
Okay.
I'm good.
The only thing I want to say, guys, is thank you for being here tonight, and we really appreciate you hanging out in the chat room with me and keeping me company. Thanks for all the likes. Appreciate that. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, and share often.
Yeah, Nancy needs you guys in the comment area because we just don't let her talk.
You don't.
No?
That's true.
Okay, we'll see you guys later.
Okay,
See you
bye.
guys.